Good to see you, everybody. Wow, it feels like it's only been yesterday that we spoke. Yes, it is time for the Q&A for the July progress report, taking questions directly from community members on all things Enclave. If you have questions as well and you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to leave them in comments down below. I will try to get to them however and wherever I can. Yes, in Advent v2, there are going to be some classes getting nerfed. This is an inevitable part of game design, but I do not think that there are any nerfs that are so extensive that they will in any way change your feel of a class. The Wanderer is having 3 very substantial changes. One, the Wanderer is having its stats changed. It's no longer double plus luck, single plus vitality. It is now double up luck, single up reflex. Why the heck is that? Well, there's a couple reasons. First of all, Reflex's trait, like personality trait of smooth, works a lot better for Wanderers. The vitality trait wasn't terrible. In fact, if I had to pick like the third best, it would probably be that. But I think that the Wanderer's the Reflex kind of style of ingratiation and smoothness is a really good way of conveying Wanderer feel better than that. Another one is it works better with the Wanderer's playstyle. Some Wanderers do like getting attention, but overall it's nice to give the Wanderer a way to escape when they need it. And the Wanderer has a few other changes that are lending itself a little bit more to this. It felt like it fit the core archetype better. I still think Vitality is a really good pick on the class though, and would definitely encourage people to use it. And so besides the reflex change, the Wanderer is also losing an elective gear piece, having a default shift to elective, and is getting a brand new default gear piece, namely the exotic Parure, which is a collection of jewelry. They are losing the fiddle, though it will be coming back in Aspirant, so you won't lose it for long if you enjoy that item. And for their abilities, they are losing the ability Fork in the Road entirely. I think it was probably the worst ability in Advent v1. Very confusing, and often didn't really make sense in practice. Their new ability is called Path Less Traveled, which lets them to take an eccentric route to get from one place to another, and in the process be less likely to be noticed or imperiled. Overall, I think it's going to be a good change that will fit the Wanderer's feel better and be a lot easier to use. So flavor is not like a direct one-to-one translation to mercs. There are ways that you will be able to make enormous pieces of flavor and have them counted as like a full mission in terms of rewarding the character. But typically flavor is used for, how do I describe this? Stuff that you normally shouldn't be able to do. Like, for example, let's say you have picked up an item that you thought would be really fun, and then you end up just not using it. You're like, this feels like kind of a waste. Can I like give this up and get my mercs back? The answer is yes, with flavor. So it lets you kind of break the standard rules of character creation and progression. And if you do something really big, then yeah, it can count as a full mission too. But the intention is that the most optimal way to progress a character should be by playing the game rather than through creating flavor, even if flavor presents you like a useful alternative way to get certain stuff, as well as like a viable way to progress a character for someone who's like truly incredible with their creative output. But there's a few things it can do that are really substantial. Like, for example, let's say you want to do something really wild where you're like, I want to make a gunslinger, but I don't want them to like have the ability standoff at all. Instead, I want to like leave that ability slot open and like get a new ability there in a few levels. Let's say you don't even start with a third, you start with 2, so it's like a strict nerf. Yeah, you could do that with flavor. And so like the more of like a self-sustained downside you have, the less flavor you have to produce. But if it's like a very implications heavy thing, such as this, even if it's all downside, you should still do some flavor for it, just to like mark it as an exception rather than the norm. In Advent, the Gunslinger is getting one substantive change, as well as a bunch of gun nerfs, buffs, mostly buffs for the Gunslinger. That being their duster is being removed and is being replaced with a cowboy hat. The cowboy hat is going to serve kind of a similar role to the duster. It's going to have environmental protection, plus it will have a social benefit, though it's going to be a very different one. But the duster will be coming back in Aspirant as part of their expanded roster. Because again, all Aspirant classes have 12 items rather than just 6. So that's going to be a big one. Although I will say, overall, the Gunslinger is getting buffed. Like, notably buffed, I would even say. In Aspirant, one of the kind of landmark things the game is going to let you do is it will let you get abilities off of other classes. Any other class in the game. In the same way that you can get class gear in Advent V1 and V2 off of any other class in the game by spending additional mercs. So the idea will be that in Aspirant, when you create your character, they will have the 3 core abilities to the class, like you do now. You can still use perks to upgrade your abilities. But instead of using a perk to upgrade an existing ability, you can save up perks and spend them to unlock a new ability. And the formula is going to be as such. All classes will first of all have their 3 core, you have those for free. They get 3 advanced abilities, which are niche but powerful. And it costs 2 perks. You have to spend 2 perks outright to unlock 1 advanced ability off of your class. If you want to get a core ability off of any other class, 3 perks. Advanced ability off of any other class, 4 perks. Now, without even knowing what advanced abilities are, think about all the potential this has just within Advent. I mean, this is an Aspirant exclusive mechanic, but just what you know of Advent as of now. Think of all the crazy stuff you could do with this. But then as soon as you add in 12 core classes rather than 6, all of which have core and advanced abilities, it gets nuts. There's so many cool combos you have available. You might be saying to yourself, wow, this flavor mechanic sounds really cool, and I like the idea of being able to change a character, but I don't have time to write flavor. I don't have time to do all that. Is there any way I can get kind of the cool exclusive stuff from Flavor without doing work outside of playing the game? The answer is yes. This is going to be a mechanic called scarring. And what scarring does is it means that if you take something that happens to you on mission and make it a permanent downside to your character, even if relatively mild, you can get flavor credit for it. What does this look like in practice? Let's say you have a bastard sword, and you're like, you know, I really wanted this bastard sword, but now I'm not digging it anymore. And let's say on mission, it breaks. You can then say, hey, I'm taking this as a scar. That sword is permanently gone. The Enclave cannot repair it or recover it for whatever reason. Can I get my mercs refunded, please? And the answer is yes. Now, you might say, oh, well, why would I ever do flavor when I can do that? Well, the reason being is that taking scars can only apply to things that naturally come up on mission. So if you want to wait out your bastard sword getting randomly broken on mission and then say, taking a scar, yep, totally fine. You can do that. But if you don't want to wait, flavor's the way to go. If you have an Aspirant character and your conduit knows Aspirant Edition, they can bring in an Advent character, no problem whatsoever. So you can do a mixed play group. It's just important that the conduit understands Aspirant Edition so that they can make sure you can use all the cool stuff that you've gotten from Aspirant. So in summary, I do not think you will need a Advent and an Aspirant version of the same character. If you wanted, you could. The only reason I think you would really need that is if your conduit was only familiar with Advent. Let's say there is a class in the game that has a signature that is called Cybernetic Limb. Totally possible, by the way. I'm not saying there's one yet, but that's totally possible of something that could be added. And let's say you're like, ooh, I really want one of those. But I'd love for my character to lose their arm first. You lose the arm on mission. You're like, great. I'm taking a scar. I don't want this to be healed. This is a perfect opportunity for me to get my cybernetic. Can you then get an additional benefit from flavor based on that? I don't know about that. I'd say if you did, it would probably be quite a small one, because at the end of the day, you're not really eating a downside. You are gonna lose the arm to get a cybernetic one anyways. You just happen to be waiting for a cool thematic time to do it on mission, and that's worth something. But it's not that big a downside, and a big part of scarring is eating a downside. Let's say that you've been playing the character for 3 or 4 levels, and not having an arm has sucked. And then you get this cybernetic. In my opinion, that's fine. Your character has eaten enough downside. They've taken their lumps, right? It's a meaningful scar. But let's say you do it, and then you just don't play the character, get a couple of mercs through like conduiting credits or something, you're like, okay, I'm getting my cybernetic now. I wouldn't call that a scar. I would say, no. Please don't, like, you don't get the upside from the scar unless you really commit to the downside. And if you don't commit to the downside, I'd say you should do additional flavor to preserve the flavor benefits you were looking for out of it. But that's one of those many kind of like social negotiations that are necessary for games like Enclave. And I'm hoping it won't come up like terrifically often. Fizzling is when you are, as a player, are describing one of your actions, you're describing something your character's trying to do, and you have the action deliberately fail. You, the player, say, my action fails in this particular way. Now, what does this do? Fizzling does two things. One, it gives you narrative control over how the action resolves. That's a very small point. The much more impactful one is if you make a meaningful call fizzle, the next time your conduit has to make a swing situation, like a borderline call, they take your fizzle into account. And so it's a way of kind of like stockpiling goodwill with a conduit, but also it's just fun and good storytelling. And so if you're the sort of player that enjoys eating downsides, even if you get no benefit out of it, fizzling is not only a thing that like very explicitly lets you do that, but even gives you a benefit to it if you would like it down the line. Thank you guys very much for bearing with me. I hope this has been interesting. I hope you are excited for the new Enclave campaign. And until we meet again in August, my name is Robbie Howell. Thank you very much for supporting the game, and ciao for now.